by a lesson in pain with strength. And I'm walking my dog while I do this, because it's so nice out. I had a patient who is a middle-aged athlete, and I say athlete because he was still very active. Wasn't necessarily in strength training, but was still very involved, I would say like a weekend warrior, and was just told that for some reason that if you're in pain, you should stretch. That's not necessarily a bad idea. It can definitely help with pain modulation, but all he did or wanted to do was stretch, and he was doing every stretch in the book for his pain. And hip pain, SI joint pain, shoulder pain, mid back pain, and he just thought, I'm going to stretch it out. And the stretches that he was currently doing wasn't necessarily fixing the issue, so he came to PT. And I remember having the talk, and I assessed his range of motion and his flexibility, and I would even classify him as hypermobile. Maybe not necessarily like genetically as an issue, but that man had more range of motion than most 20-year-olds. And I told him that. I was like, look, man, you don't really have any issues. And I kind of explained the processes on why stretching feels good temporarily or acutely. And he kind of said, yeah, I understand. And, I gave him some things to do at home, and we went from there. And came back, and he still said, things were, speaking to him. And I asked, well, how's the homework program? He said he didn't do it. He was just doing stretches. And I was like, why? And he said, well, I'm in pain. Why do I need to perform these strengthening exercises? And it took a few sessions to get through to him with some education, but I essentially stated that just because you are in pain doesn't mean that you have to stretch or that stretching is the answer. It is just one part of the spectrum of things that we can do. And I said that you have no issues in range of motion. There's nothing range of motion that is stopping you. So essentially he's just having a piece of candy for nutritional value. And I didn't find that was, I don't think he enjoyed that, but I thought that was the easiest analogy to say. And I eventually stated that he's done all the stretching that hasn't made a difference in any long-term outcomes. And I said there's nothing wrong with it. Again, there isn't. But he wasn't doing anything on the other side of the spectrum to broaden or build this proficiency and resiliency in a situation. And so I was like, what can I do, or what's going to make it viable for you to do this strengthening series at home? And he's like, give me 3 things to do. And I was like, perfect, right up my alley. So I literally gave him a closed chain push exercise for his upper extremities, a squat variation, and a deadlift variation that he could perform to his pain tolerance. And I didn't see him for 2 weeks after that. And guess what? Comes back. He's like, I enjoyed doing that stuff, and I ended up feeling better after performing it 3 days the first week. So he tried to do it every day the next week, and then he's like, oh, then I just got sore. I was like, well, that's good. How's your pain? And he's like, virtually it's 50% better after just 2 weeks of just doing a 3x5 to 3x8 system. And I think that has a lot to say with what's going on in terms of just because you're in pain doesn't mean that you have to stretch or that you can only stretch, and that sometimes strength is part of the equation. So just a lesson.